Okay, we're live. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn third time's the charm.
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I am your California host, Corey Pepper. I'm here with our New York host, Paul Packler.
Woohoo! Hey, oh, New York.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You've been there for 10 years. You picked up a few accents.
Yeah, right? I say orange.
My students, I've lived in California for a very long time and have not totally lost my New York accent.
Stop. You're selling yourself short, Corey.
And I've got some students who just wallop me on certain words. They wait for it. My advanced class that I've had, these are kids who've been studying with me now for 3 and 4 years. So these kids, and they're 15, 16, and they're all smart asses. So if I say the word of a giant shopping galleria, a palace of shopping, Westfield owns a lot of these places.
Oh, you say the word mall, but you probably add like 3 syllables to it.
There's definitely a W in there somewhere that doesn't belong. There's a mall. And if I just say it casually, like in conversation, I could get them just to double over in laughter, especially, as you well know, probably as listeners of this podcast know, the angrier I get, the more New Yorkie I sound.
It's true. It's very true.
And I believe nary a podcast has gone through without me getting angry about something in this Gary David Goldberg world.
But for anyone trying to emulate a New York accent, I feel like if you're not yelling, then you're not fully doing one correctly.
I guess that's sort of kind of why the Bernie Sanders imitations are all shouty. They're all shouting. Gilbert Gottfried to be the most archetypical of. How do you do Gilbert Gottfried without just shouting at the top of your lungs?
He's perfect. I love him.
Louis Black.
Another one. Yeah, that's a good point.
Another yeller from oddly enough, not from New York, from North Carolina.
Is he really?
Yeah, I've read all of his books, and yeah, he's from North Carolina, and then of course a New York transplant. But
did you know him? Because he also worked as a bartender in Broadway shows for years.
Are you serious? I wonder, and we're almost the same age. I've read his biography, and it never clicked with me. No.
Yeah. Because I remember reading about like the Daily Show and stuff like that. He talked about, that's what he was doing when he was a playwright and all kinds of stuff.
Now, I will say, when the concessions started in the Broadway theaters, and I don't know how it is today, there were only 2 companies that had concessions. Now, this was back in the late 70s and early 80s. And I would say that the only 2 companies, and it was the 2 companies that owned the Broadway theaters, still the largest landlords on Broadway, the Schuberts and the Jew Jamisons. Mm-hmm. Once and forever, the biggest landlords on Broadway, but they owned the company, or the companies were sort of subsidiaries of them. So the Schuberts had one company that were in all of their theaters, and the Jew Jamisons had a different concessions company that was in theirs. So I worked for the Schubert organization, and therefore would not have known the people who bartended for the Jew Jamisons.
Oh, wow. And back then, someone in there, like some writer for a Second City or something like that would have done an amazing version of that, where it was like using West Side Story for...
Oh, sure. Yes, the Montagues and the Capulets, of course.
Yeah.
As the 2 theater chains. For the Schuberts, I will say, we didn't have our celebrity as Louis Black. Our celebrity was Woody Harrelson.
Really?
Yeah, I worked with Woody Harrelson in the theaters.
That's so weird.
Yeah, he worked in the Broadway theaters as a bartender for me.
I thought he just fell off a turnip truck and ended up in Cheers in the 80s.
I believe his Cheers audition happened possibly from New York.
Wow. That's so crazy.
Because I knew him in the theaters.
Huh. And he's from Texas and everything.
Yeah, and he had just, arrived, with his suitcase in his hand.
Right. Tuba chapstick and a dance belt.
So I guess, you gave this show the subtitle "Third Time is the Charm."
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know it to listen to us because of our easy breezy banter, folks that are listening. But this is our second, technically third try at this episode. We recorded it yesterday, but YouTube, in its infinite wisdom, thought we did a terrible job and just totally fucked up the recording. So we're doing it again.
Couldn't have done that on a Scott Jones week, huh?
No. Oh my God, do you think we could have gotten him back for a second bite at the apple?
What, can you catch lightning in a bottle twice? My God, we did the whole show yesterday. I'm glad that, it's all scrapped because we didn't once mention the big personal news that we should be congratulating Scott Jones and Kerry Jones on their third pregnancy.
Yeah, they're trying to, before this season, before Family Ties is over, to have as many kids in their household as the Keatons do in theirs.
I believe they are actually going to come up one short. There's no way that this season goes on long enough the time in between children and pregnancy, birth and next pregnancy, has been getting shorter and shorter.
So, in real life or in the show?
Oh, in real life. I pay no attention to the show. In real life, it's been getting shorter and shorter. And I spend way too much time thinking about the fertility of the Jennings Jones family. But the big announcement is that after 4-year-old Henry and 2-year-old Maisie,
I think so, right?
Just turned 2. The Jennings are pregnant once again. So we saw a tiny little bean sonogram. So we know that she's got a bun in the oven again.
Mazel.
And of course, we get Scott so often because he has no family obligations. That's why he's with us as often as he is. So obviously, the birth of a third child pretty much means ta-ta, Scotty.
I know. When we start doing our Spin City podcast, we'll never hear from Scott.
Don't threaten me. Don't threaten me with our Spin City podcast. I've got other ideas, but I haven't said word to you on them. But it ain't gonna be Spin City. Because if we did Spin City, that means eventually we'd get to the Charlie Sheen years, and I would want to kill myself.
Yes. What do you think, though? Do you think that Spin City will hold up as a better show compared to Family Ties?
No, I don't. I think that because it's political, I think they'll probably have current events references to political stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Jack Kemp jokes and stuff, and
John Glenn and Jack Kemp jokes.
Yeah. So yeah, this is season 7, episode 2. We tried to say yesterday this is our last time doing an episode 2,
and we vowed that we would annoy all of our listeners. There every week this season we'll say, "Wow," well, wistfully, "Wow, this is our last episode 3 of Family Ties." Wow.
Yeah, and it's titled "Designing Woman," which is taken from the show on whatever network, Designing Women.
Yes, it was a big Monday night hit show. If I remember correctly, it was actually funny. And it really wasn't very current eventsy. It was sort of kind of bitchy. It was Annie Potts and Jean Smart and Delta Burke and who was the other one? The very with the deep voice who's passed away, I believe, Hal Holbrook's wife.
Oh, I don't know.
Dixie Carter.
Okay, and Meshack Taylor.
Meshack Taylor, the only man on the show. Oh, and do you remember? Oh, God, I loved her. Who was it? Was it Alice Ghostly? No, it wasn't. Who played the older woman who would come there, and she would sing every time Meshack Taylor came on. She would sing, "Black man, black man."
Oh, God.
Oh, it was so off-putting. I couldn't believe it. But she made me laugh. She was like a dithering old lady who was a recurring on the show. Very
wow. I never watched that show. I never got to see it.
No, and it was like 9:30 Mondays. There was something right before it that must have had me watching it. That was the reason why. It was the second half hour or something.
Yeah, that's probably why. Because I mean, I didn't even watch Cheers when it was on because it was too late. I went to bed at 9 o'clock. So
Right. And I was putting children to bed at 9 o'clock. So, yeah. So this episode starts, Designing Woman. It starts in the kitchen of the Keaton household with an unbelievable scene because we have Mallory and Alex sitting there. Alex reading sort of the business section of a newspaper. Mallory is sort of sketching fashion on her sketch pad. And while she is sketching, she sketches humming all of the tune to If I Were a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof. And the longer she does it, and the more irritating she tries to be to Alex, the more anti-Semitic the whole scene just begins to smell.
yeah, it's interesting because these two nice white kids from Ohio going through the entire song, If I Were a Rich Man, and Michael J. Fox starts doing the dance with the arms in the air.
And I explained yesterday that yes, indeed, if you're reading the lyrics to, musical comedy man that I am, if you're reading the lyrics to If I Were a Rich Man, they do read deedle, diddle, diddle, digga, digga, diddle, diddle, dum. But when sung, nobody ever sings them that way, except perhaps me when I played Tevye in the 6th grade of my elementary school production of Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, wow. Did you get some good notices in the school paper?
I did. And I got just mad offers of women wanting to sleep with me at the age of what would that be, 10?
Wow. Wait, were they women your age, I hope?
Yeah, there were other 10-year-olds. They were knocking on my dressing room door, wanting to pull on my fake spirit gum beard. It was amazing. My payas that I had, and so when you perform Tevye like Zero Mostel or any of the other, or even Topol in the movie, you don't sing deedle diddle. You sort of chant it like you're in Jewish prayer. It's like a holy chant that you got. I got the music in me, baby. I got the spirit coming out of me. It's like talking in tongues if you're a Baptist. It's talking in tongues for a Jew. And in this scene, you have her literally saying, deedle, diddle, diddle, digga, digga, deedle, diddle, dum. And you have him sort of with the newspaper, sort of like doing like a little Jewish jig over there. And of course, it's the business section. So it's like, hey, Shylock, why don't we just fucking call the Jews right now? We're singing If I Were a Rich Man, reading the business pages in Dayton, Ohio, and it has nothing to do with this episode. It was absolutely extraneous.
You know what it just made me think of is there's this like old axiom from television that is cast British, think Yiddish. Have you heard that?
I have not heard that, but it makes sense.
It's like this thing where they wouldn't obviously want any sort of Jewish or ethnic actors on TV, but they like the comedy, and so they would get waspy actors to do funny Jewish style jokes or whatever.
Well, all the writers in the early days of television, it was just Borscht Belt writers. They were all the Jews. So yeah, they wouldn't want to put them on TV. But they would definitely want to put the Brits on TV, but have the Jews write for them.
Yes, yeah. So I thought that was a well-known thing, but maybe not.
And Alex, a well-known lover of the American musical theater. If I recall correctly, in the other 7 years of Family Ties, he's referenced Carousel, and then that amazing episode where he sang "I Enjoy Being a Girl" from Flower Drum Song. Do you remember that, Paul?
Wait, is that true? Did I drink that out of my memory?
Happened. None of that has happened except in this episode in season 7. He and his sister sing "Fiddler on the Roof."
No one is a worse singer than Michael J. Fox. Like as an actor, he's a terrible singer.
So at the end of this thing, Michael J. Fox makes her smudge her drawing of of her fashion that she's designing, and he makes a Smurf joke, that Papa Smurf joke. That's what it looks like, a Smurf now.
Makes no sense. As a joke, I don't get that at all.
No, I don't. It was just funny to say the word Smurf, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We've established very early in the scene, upon the entrance of Jennifer and Dad, Stephen, who arrive from the mall.
Oh, I'm sorry. How did you say that?
Yep, I said it. I said that word. I'm going to do it again. They arrive from the mall.
Oh, what are you, from Ohio?
They come in the back door, arriving there with shopping bags freshly shopped at the mall. And we find out that Elise is out of town, which, means that Meredith Baxter Burney had a gig doing summer stock,
Right.
or a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie or one of the other things that she would do.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't, which is really strange because it's episode like 2 of their season. I don't know why we all of a sudden she's got a week off. She had a hiatus for the summer. She worked 1 week and now she's got the other week off. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is 7 years into a show. You would think you would know. Oh, come September, we're going to be filming again.
Right, exactly. Oh, come July, we start shooting again in July.
Yeah,
or September. But that's a real shock. Oh, I'm sorry, I scheduled my annual family vacation to Europe around July 23rd. Hey, you don't realize that we've been shooting July 23rd every single freaking year? Yeah, I guess not. So the phone rings. Mallory comes and answers the phone, and she's like crazy, deliriously happy. It turns out she's been offered a job working as an apprentice for David Campbell Fashion, the biggest fashion designer in all of Ohio.
Now, as we know, there's a burgeoning art world in Columbus, from Nick being feted around to other things that Nick has done, and
the amazing state of Ohio. My goodness, it never ceases to amaze me. And in Dayton, none of this ever takes place in Cincinnati or Cleveland, 2 cities that I would probably think would be a little bit more cosmopolitan than Dayton.
Yeah, we really just stay pretty suburban this whole series.
But we find out that David Campbell Fashion is offering her a job as an apprentice, and she applied with all of the other art students or fashion students at Grant College. So this is a perfect opportunity. Upon the mention of Grant College, like a fucking reflex reaction, we know we're going to cut to Alex P. Keaton for a Grant College put-down joke.
And I just want to say this. Alex B. Keaton has been in college for almost 4 years at this point, and my God, this show has completely dropped the ball on the idea of using that in any capacity.
We haven't seen him as a TA. We haven't seen him as jack shit. We haven't seen him doing anything in college.
Writing a thesis, nothing.
Freshman year.
Yeah.
She acknowledges the fact that she's not even going to get paid. She's going to work long hours. She's not going to get paid, but it is an honor to be selected to be the apprentice for David Campbell Fashion. And it's a big honor, and she's excited about it, and Alex is going to make fun of it. And we sort of fade into the next scene where Alex is reading and explaining Robin Hood to his little brother, Andrew.
Yeah, it's full of normal Republican 80s yuppie propaganda about stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. What else does he say? That the merry men bought junk bonds in order to make a living when they live in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of nonsense, but it leads up to one of the 2 funny jokes in this episode.
It does. We're sort of laying down a little pipe here of how, reminding us after 6 seasons that Alex loves Ronald Reagan. And in reality, his father hates Ronald Reagan and is very happy that we are in our lame duck presidency year.
Yeah, election season is coming up, folks. It's September 1988. Couple more months, and we're going to elect George H.W. Bush.
Is that true?
Come on, Corey. What's going on? Are you losing it? What's happening?
We are, huh? I thought we were going to elect. That would be Jimmy Carter.
No, Michael Dukakis.
Wait, through those years, we never elected Michael Dukakis.
But he ran. It was between Dukakis and Bush.
No, it was Dukakis and Carter, wasn't it? No, it was Carter and Ford, right?
Yes, Carter and Ford in 76.
In 76. And then Reagan in 80 and 84. And now we're getting to 88, and we are getting to Vice President George H.W. Bush.
Who ran for the Democrats in 80? Who was it?
In 80 against the second Reagan?
Oh no, in the first Reagan it was Carter. Carter lost his re-election.
Right. Carter lost his second administration.
Right. Okay.
One of those rare incumbents to lose, like George H.W. Bush.
Ho ho, we tied it all back together.
Yep,
but
sure
to get to the joke, so what happens is he's talking about Reagan. Stephen is sitting on the couch with him saying how much he hates Reagan. And then from behind them in the kitchen, Mallory enters with her new boss, who for some reason has come to her house.
For some reason, for this physical comedy joke that's about to happen. And she's introduced as Jamie Carter.
I'm sorry, Corey. Did you say Jamie Carter or Jimmy Carter?
No, it's a lovely lady. It's Jamie Carter.
And so as soon as Mallory says Jamie Carter, Alex jumps from a seated position into his father's lap next to him, also in a seated position. And it's fast and it's furious and it's quite impressive.
It's impressive, and yet we've seen this shtick over and over again when they don't know what else to do. They have Alex, all 5'2" of Michael J. Fox, jumping into somebody taller's arms.
Yeah, and he's terrified. He screams out, and then Mallory says, Alex, it's Jamie Carter, not Jimmy Carter. And I laughed in spite of myself because the setup to this joke, and it went so long, and there were so many twists and turns. And by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, what a stupid joke. I love it.
Jamie Carter is the woman who's been sent from David Campbell Fashion to help usher Mallory into her apprenticeship. Mallory is very excited until Jamie explains to her that, hey, look, this isn't as glamorous as you think it's going to be. This job includes running errands and getting coffee. And Mallory is just fine with all of that. She's so excited to have this job and looking forward to the opportunity that she has to show her designs to Jamie Carter.
I think that's great. I think it's a great premise for an episode.
And this is where it goes so horribly, horribly wrong. Because I think we know right now that when she shows her designs to Jamie Carter, nothing good could come of it because we're coming up to the end of Act 1. So we're at the studio, at the David Campbell Fashion Studio, and Mallory is in fashion heaven. There's a whole bustle and people running around. It's incredibly glamorous to her. She meets David Campbell, he of David Campbell Fashion, and she gets all flustered and she ends up pinned to a dress dummy.
She had pinned her own sleeve to it, and so when he comes up to introduce himself, she's flustered, and she eventually just kind of the hell with it. She unbuttons her coat and pops out of it, and she's wearing a sleeveless blouse that she looks quite fetching in.
Quite fetching, and she looks lovely in it.
Yeah.
But Jamie, at this point, is starting to panic because David Campbell wants to see Jamie's newest design. And Jamie Carter goes out of her way to avoid showing her newest design to David Campbell. And Mallory is like, oh, no, go ahead. Show him, show him, show him. And finally, the model comes out. And, of course, the model is wearing the exact jacket that Mallory designed. And Jamie is taking full credit for designing Mallory's jacket.
Yep. Pretty shitty, Jamie.
She's not a good person at all.
No, but I'm sure we're going to find out just why she did what she did, right?
Maybe not. It's family ties.
Come on, Corey. I was trying to lead us into a commercial break that that brought
Oh, you're
people
right.
back.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, stick around. You will. Perhaps you'll find out.
And with that kind of a cliffhanger, we'll be right back. And we're back. Now, Corey, just like yesterday when we recorded this, coming back into the second half, I said, hey, there's something that we missed, and we missed it again. There's an actor in this who makes an appearance. He's an under 5, but I think he butts right up against the 5 lines, and his name is Mr. Hank Azaria.
He is incredibly dark-haired.
Mm-hmm.
He's incredibly youthful. He is incredibly boyish of shape, even. And plays almost the identical character sans the Hispanic accent that he plays in Birdcage, 10, 15 years later.
Yes, he's playing another designer, but I was actually kind of shocked that in 1988 he wasn't as flamboyant as he could have been. Like, he definitely read as gay.
And yet I'm wondering, what was the year in which we started casting actual gay actors playing gay roles? I mean, poor actors like Paul Lynde and Charles Nelson Riley had to play, straight roles their whole lives as themselves. And of course, we all knew that they were really gay roles.
Right. Well, we still have it. I mean, the 2 guys that just were in what's that movie that was fine, but everybody loved it? The one that just came out that was nominated for Best Picture with Timothy Chalamet and the other guy.
Oh! Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, they're both straight in real life.
Yes, Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet Ding Dong are both completely straight actors.
They're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, we couldn't have found a gay leading man in Hollywood? That's a real crapshoot, huh? Zachary Quinto probably wasn't available, huh?
Yeah. He's great. He's very good.
Matt Bomer, another actor, another openly gay actor. I guess he wasn't available either.
Who is he? Was he the one that was on 30 Rock?
No, he does a lot of other stuff, but another really good-looking guy who's gay. And it's like, oh, we have all these good-looking gay actors who are openly gay. I don't understand why we ain't using them.
Right.
Although I will say, I could, if I had a gun put to my head, I could make out with Armie Hammer. I could.
Wow. Gosh, we should do every episode twice to find out which actors you would make out with a gun to your head.
Remember my affection for when we worked together with the incredibly handsome Prince, David Humphreys.
Listen, I feel like this is the 3rd or 4th time in this show, in this podcast.
It may be. I have no shame.
Listen, I just want to say,
that is a good-looking man.
David Humphrey. I bought a suit because he looked so good in a suit.
I really, that is one good-looking man. And I feel the same way about Armie Hammer. It's like, there's not a lot of men who I think, you know what, if I had a gun put to my head, making out wouldn't be so bad with him.
You know what? I'll also say this. Armie Hammer and David Humphrey also are similar in type, so you definitely have a type.
You know what I'm saying.
Just a tall, dashing sort of like...
I could just get swept off my feet by gentlemen like that. As my wife barges in now. We lost the whole husband-wife fight from the opening of last night. What a shame. Huh?
I know, that was great because that was a whole different heel turn into.
And I'm so glad I learned my lesson and have never said that again. Thank God we opened.
Corey, just be careful. You're pulling a paper or something.
Oh, and it's right next to my microphone.
Yeah.
Yes. I was looking at the paper because at the beginning of Act 2, we have the second funny set piece in the show, and it involves something else that has absolutely nothing to do with the plot. We open with Alex and Jennifer playing chess together, and Alex is in terrible trouble, danger of losing. Jennifer makes a move, says checkmate, and then Alex starts this bit. Why don't you explain it?
Absolutely. So he starts looking off behind Jennifer and says, "Jennifer, there's a monster behind you." And she's like, Alex, come on. I know you always do this, and you're not going to get me. I'm not 6 years old anymore. And he's like, no, no, look behind you. Oh my God. And he starts shouting at the monster. And Michael J. Fox commits to the bit so hard. And it goes on for like 60 seconds of him just constantly yelling, her being like, you're not going to get me this time, Alex. And all of this, and he sells it so well, and it goes on for so long that when she does ultimately look in spite of herself, he flips the board over, just like she said he was going to do.
And denies once again that he lost the game, and then declares that he is undefeated.
Yes. It's a very funny bit, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the show. And again, these are two good jokes in an otherwise pretty mediocre episode.
Mallory interrupts this with the big news that she believes that Jamie Carter is stealing her designs, and Jennifer and Alex both of them advise her to confront her. Don't let her get away with this. Stand up for yourself. And I think that is where now we take a real another turn. They tell her to stand up for herself, and now we go to the second scene, which takes place sort of at the fashion show back at David Campbell's studios. At the very top of the scene, David Campbell assigns Mallory and Jamie to be working together during the fashion show, which is the last thing both of them want. Jamie really doesn't want to be with Mallory, and Mallory certainly doesn't want to be with Jamie. And we also learn that Gary David Goldberg has very definite opinions about models, because we meet two during this scene, and they both have sort of weird European accents, and they're both like real bitches.
Yeah, it's like something happened where a model owed Gary David Goldberg money, or they used to beat him up in high school, like models used to steal his lunch money or something, or burned his house down. Or...
I wish you could sort of come back to Earth again and like watch an episode of Project Runway and see how the models are really, really sweet, that they don't say a fucking word. They can get a pin stuck in their ass and they don't say a word. Oh, you got me, and nabbed me a little bit.
Yeah, like they in this episode they whine and they piss and moan and.
Why do you put me in something that bonds me like this? It's like that's big German. Like, what are you doing? It's just, and it goes nowhere. Now, this scene just goes from like ridiculous to more ridiculous, because right now, right after the model, Alex walks into an incredibly busy room of half-dressed models, and all you could think of is Donald Trump and the Miss Universe pageant.
That's it. I mean, to a T, it's the exact same situation, and it's actually worse because at least Donald Trump owned that situation.
Right. Alex walks in and he like goes like eyes to breast right away. Like he's at breast level with one of the models right away.
And he says breast on TV.
Yes, it's like cream and sugar in your breast. It's it's like one of those jokes where it's like, I'm just going to put the word breast in an otherwise stupid line.
Yeah.
And then as if the scene couldn't get any more ridiculous, Stephen Keaton walks in to the room as well.
Yeah, and so Steven is wearing a suit that we've never seen him in before because he looks fucking awesome.
Absolutely, and because he's about to get involved in another comedy bit here. But what's really ridiculous about this whole thing is they are coming back to wish luck to a girl who's been an apprentice for a week, when there are designers and bosses and mentors, and like, wow, that's going to go over real big, huh?
Yeah, like, I don't know what the deal is with this episode, but apparently the word intern hadn't been invented in 1988. She's an intern.
Yes.
She's unpaid, she gets coffee, she's an intern.
Right.
And but what happens is that Steven gets grabbed by Hank Azaria. He says, "What are you doing here?" And he gives him a scarf, and he gives him a nice fedora, and then he tosses him onto the stage.
And of course, moments later, Dad is back into the dressing room again, announcing that they loved him. And what do? They push him back out on the stage again.
Yeah, nothing at a fashion show like seeing the same outfit again later.
Absolutely, on a 45-year-old man. That was just terrific. It goes over really big. And then Campbell comes over and tells Jamie Carter that this jacket that she designed is spectacular, and he's going to use it, and he's going to market it, and she's going to do wonderful things for her career. And of course, Mallory hears all of this, and he leaves, and they have this heartfelt scene of, how could you, Jamie? And you don't understand, Mallory, how difficult this is. And why did you do? I'm no good. I don't believe in myself. I'm burnt out. I can't do this fashion thing. And why are you doing this to me? And why can't I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? It's what I should do. And Mallory is like at the very end of this, like finally saying like, you're right. You probably did the right thing.
Yeah, this woman cajoles Mallory. She's like so emotionally manipulative. It's insane. She gets to the point that during this back and forth, Jamie Carter is like, you know what? I dare you to tell David that I did this.
And Mallory is just, as she describes herself, as she's too much of a pansy to do that.
Yeah. Later in the episode, Mallory Keaton calls herself a pansy out of nowhere.
I, of course, wrote down that she was a puss, not a pansy, a puss.
It's interesting that Jamie Carter has no real, like, she doesn't feel bad for this at all. She just thinks of all of these reasons that, like, I used to be really good at this, and now I am not anymore. And at the same time, well, then get out of the biz.
Right. I mean, you're young enough. Do something else. Go into management.
Yeah. Also in this episode, there seems to be a thing of like, David Campbell is a guy, and he runs this industry that's full of women, and that it's this older woman, Jamie, and a new young woman, Mallory, who's got new raw talent, and then the other one's all burned out. And it seems there's some feminist things going on here, but again, just like every idea in Family Ties, they do only the most cursory feints toward interesting ideas, and nothing comes of it.
No, absolutely nothing comes of the feminism idea, the feminism thread that they have in this episode. This big show scene ends with everybody being urged by David Campbell to come out on stage and take a big giant bow together because the show was so successful. So everybody goes on stage. Jamie, come on stage with me, Jamie, and leaving Mallory standing there sort of shell-shocked in the dressing room with the other apprentices, getting none of the glory for her terrific jacket.
It's horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go back to the home base for the big climactic finish, right?
As I call it, the backdoor finish, because there isn't an episode of Family Ties that doesn't end with someone barging in their back door to apologize and being just handily let off the hook.
Yep. First, what happens is that Mallory finally lets Steven know what had been going on. For some reason, Mallory was fine with Jennifer and Alex knowing about the situation, but didn't want Mom and Dad to know.
Right.
And so now he knows. He's upset that she didn't tell him. She tells him that she feels bad because she's too nice of a person, and it makes her feel like a pansy, which, as we said before, is strange verbiage.
Right. And this goes into a scene with Alex, which we've seen way too often lately. And it's not the same scene. It's a different scene that we say way too often, but it's a scene where Alex turns into a completely different character than the Alex P. Keaton that we know.
Yeah, this is Alex P. Keaton, the apology character.
Yes, and this is happening a lot lately where he takes a moment in the show and turns into a completely different character, like I'm really not a piece of shit sociopath narcissist.
Yeah, he always cares too much for usually Mallory, sometimes Jennifer.
It is. It's I love too much. My problem is I love you too much.
Yeah, I get so concerned with your well-being that I go off the handle. I do this or that.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I just love you so much. You're so important to me.
It's definitely emotionally abusive, I would say.
Yes, it is. And right here, we get into this whole thing with Mallory talking about how she had this vision that she sees the world through rose-tinted glasses. And she had this vision of the fashion world where everybody was an artist and we all work together and we love together and we all contribute to each other's artistry. And it's like, hey, get into the real world, girl. It's backbiting. Everybody's, trying to rise above each other, clawing their way to the top. that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, yeah, and Alex rolls his eyes at this after just seconds before trying to be so nice to her.
Right.
He's like, "What are you, a fucking idiot?"
That's exactly what the scene is. It's like, oh, Mal, I'm so sorry. I love you too much. And then, what the fuck? Are you an idiot? What's wrong with you?
And then he leaves because, dun dun dun, knock knock knock.
Here's the backdoor finish. Jamie Carter's at the back door for her apology.
Now, Jamie's apology, it has that she has revealed to David that she did steal Mallory's ideas.
Yes, and that she is going to hook Mallory up with David, and he is willing to look at Mallory's designs.
Yeah. Now. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm getting an echo. Do you have headphones?
No. Yes, I do have headphones.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Let me go grab them. They're right here.
Bryant. Hopefully this works and you can just edit this. Are they in? Testing.
Here we go.
Testing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, that works. So now we can just cut right back in. So Jamie's apology has to do with her saying that she told David and all that. What I thought would have been a more interesting ending is the whole time throughout the episode, Mallory's problem that she keeps saying is she's too nice. She doesn't have the killer instinct of business that Alex tells her she should have, and Jamie tries to con her into doing and stuff like that. It would have been interesting if she had blackmailed Jamie, or if she had used Jamie's malpractice against her in some way, in a way of being like, all right, so I lost a bit of innocence, but now I know how the business world works. It would have been a very cynical ending, but in keeping with the theme that they were establishing through the arc, it would have been an interesting ending. And it would have been, I think, in keeping with what seemed to be the message of the episode.
Absolutely. And we'd also theorized that they bring up this whole thing about fashion and the art world, and we thought that the addition of Nick in this episode would have been a really good idea too.
Yeah, because they're both Mallory and Nick seem to have the same problems when these episodes come up, is that they're a little bit too much of a babe in the woods, and they get taken advantage of when all they want to do is create.
Yes. And we get to the apology at the end of this episode, and once again, the bad person, in this case, Jamie Carter, is let off the hook.
Now, I didn't understand this when I watched the episode. Is Jamie leaving the business, or is she staying in it?
Any conclusion on that?
Yeah.
She probably should quit the business.
I would say so. But yeah, other than that, that's about it. Like we said, it's a pretty mediocre episode.
It is, and you know, we said at this stage, after 120 episodes, I'm happy with a mediocre episode. I'll take it any day of the week.
Totally fine. And so, with that, are you ready to call this one an episode down the tubes?
For the third time, this is an episode down the tubes.
Woohoo! For questions and comments, email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. And please rate and review our show on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at QTWFT for updates, and you can follow each of us. I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep, and Scott's at Follow Jones.
And you can like us on Facebook. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is a comic book publisher and an online community supporting creators and fans through daily reviews, interviews, and podcasts that span the pop culture spectrum. Fanbasepress.com. We'd like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs Family Ties and our theme song Without Us. Check out her website, perryadams.com. We'd like to thank Bryant Dillon, who created our fantastic drawing and artwork, as well as edits our show. Bryant is the president and co-founder of Fanbase Press. Follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. And finally, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, for designing our logo. Gang, we'll see you next week, and hopefully This is the last time we have to record episode 2 of season 7.
Sha-la-la-la.
Bye!
Bye.